All right. It's good to have you here. So for the sake of our viewers, can you just tell us your name and what you do generally?
Okay, my name is Oluwatomi and I am co-founder CEO of Trove. And essentially, what the company it's a micro investment platform that allows Nigerians invest in financial securities both locally and globally. And what I mean by financial securities, I mean like stocks, I mean like bonds, I mean like general money market instruments and all that type of stuff. So we allow them invest in companies like Dangote Cement, companies like Access Bank, GT Bank, those are local companies. And then globally, you can invest in companies like US companies like Google, Facebook, Snapchat, Amazon, Chinese companies like Alibaba, Weibo. And you can do that from the comfort of your smartphone and with little amounts of money. So you don't have to be like a super rich person to access and to use the platform.
Wow, that's a huge one to me. Okay,
Yeah.
so generally an average day as the CEO of Trove, what does it look like for you?
Um, Yeah, so an average day is super hectic, to be honest. It's super hectic. So like you're in between quelling like fires and everything. And what I mean by fires, I don't mean like physical fires. But like you're in between like all the madness that's going on with like customer complaints, with the staff in themselves, making sure everybody's working optimally, making sure everybody's being productive and, making sure customer complaints are resolved in a speedy and timely manner, so in between all of these things, and then you have your own human things you have to deal with. You have meetings, you have brand new distributions slash partnerships that you're trying to unlock, or opportunities you're trying to unlock. And so it's a quite for me it's quite chaotic usually, right? I wouldn't say I have the, you know, simplest of days or easiest of days. It's quite chaotic, I'm spearheading like a high, like a growth level type company. And, but it's an interesting challenge. And, every day there's a benefit and something to learn. So, bringing all the pieces together on the, staff side, that's on the human side, and then on the customer side, and then reconciling that with your needs to grow the business is very chaotic to say the least. But it's a learning curve in itself, so it's partially exciting.
It sounds like you're a superman. And I'm good to see that you are I'm good to see that you are pushing it well.
We're yeah, we're trying our best. We're trying our best.
Okay, so what role will you say education played in you get to where you are now? For some persons, and from what we have seen happening in our society, people prefer to make money quick. So we heard of the recent arrest and all that. So, but what if you were to advise young people based on your own life experience why they should
Yeah.
stay with education? So, what role did education play that should motivate someone else to want to go to school? You get so. Just share a bit of light on that.
Okay, so I went to school. Yeah, so like I won't advise anybody not to go to school. A second thing is, I think it's super critical. I think it's super important. And the reason why I say that is because, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday and I said, like, it's not really what you know. It's more about, who you know and how you understand how to hack the whatever industry you're in, right? And there are methods to the madness, right? Whether it's in like, a private setup or like in public or government type setup, right? So I feel like school gives you an opportunity to meet like a lot of amazing people. You meet people that would shape, the future in itself, right? And meeting and interacting with these people, it's social capital in itself, right? So you guys are young, you guys are playing around, you guys are going for lectures, but then you never really get an environment where you meet, different kinds of people in that way, outside of like a structured educational type setup, right? Um, and then just for the social capital itself, I think is extremely big. I think it's extremely important. Um, I really don't know. I wouldn't be the one to say, oh, you have to do this degree or you have to study this or you have to study that. It's important to, get some exposure on some level and understand, have a discipline that you're focused on, so to say, right? Or something to fall back on, like, it's very important. But for me, the greatest benefit of a school and like how it has played out for me is, social capital. So I've been able to meet like a lot of amazing people that, still are doing like amazing things in different industries. And, that's why people go to places like, Harvard Business School, or people go to like, Princeton or Yale or any of those schools. It's pretty much just for like networks, right? And the social capital. So you go there, you pay a ton of money to do an MBA, but then you know that, okay, you're meeting Y, meeting Z, and those people will play like a critical and important role in, your future some way or the other. They will be useful, right? So for me, that's the biggest benefit, and I think it's super critical and super important. You don't get to meet people on that level, outside of that environment.
So I
Just
like the
exposes generally.
exposure. So which is more or less when people say your net worth is your network, right?
Definitely. Definitely. I think it's more about that than anything else. I think it's more about that.
Yeah,
Not really what you know. You just
true.
have to know how to ask them and know people that, it's politics, man. Whether it's private or whether it's public sector, or whether it's you're starting a tech startup or, whatever startup, raising funds, all those things, media mentions and all of those things. There's a lot of politics that goes into like a lot of those things, and you have to know how to hack the system. And at the end of the day, it's learning from people's experience, maybe people that have done it before or people that are within that space, So social capital, I continue to say that thing. That's the biggest thing, but that's the
Yeah,
most important thing.
yeah, true. So let me just add, for sake of our listeners, people who may watch this video or listen to the podcast much later, talking about networking. So that's how you and I actually met. So the first time we met was in Accra, right? During this
Definitely.
Startup Africa. And since then, so I would say, so my coming to that program was even more about trying to get funding or to learn. If you check, at least some of the things they taught us, we even know some of them already. But it was about meeting people.
Yeah.
You get, and
Yeah.
you happen to be one of the things I gained in that program, because you were my roommate and we have remained friends till date. Yeah, I remember when I was even looking for a technical co-founder.
Yeah.
So you played a key role in that as well. So yeah, I said that just to buttress what you have said so far. So now, so you have said one of the major benefits of going to school, how it helps in future endeavors. So does technology has a role in that? So for those who are in school, for example, now, is there any way they can leverage technology in expanding their network as a student?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So there are lots of what's the word? There are lots of social type platforms nowadays that exist, right? And what I mean by that is, especially with the pandemic, people are creating tools, or there are tools that have existed around some level of or some type of e-learning, and then with all these e-learning type efforts, there's a lot of community that exists inside of that, right? And so definitely, right, there are platforms that allow you mix both, right, nowadays, whether existing platforms or like things that are just being built out, right, or whether it's schools like building, platforms for students to interact, right? So we see a lot of those things, coming up nowadays, and so I think technology is super important. Outside of that, things like basic technology like WhatsApp, for example, right? People are using it to communicate, as students, to disseminate like super important announcements, to their peers. Lecturers are using it to communicate with the students. And, there are just lots of amazing things. You see, groups where that are, faculty groups, departmental type groups, student union type groups, and all these things are set up on like technology, right? So you see things like WhatsApp, you see Facebook groups, you see Telegram groups, and then so I think the speed at which information can get disseminated with regards to leveraging on technology, I think is super critical. Like before, if I need to tell my classmates something, I'll probably need to be knocking on each person's hostel or dorm room or their door or something of that kind of stuff. But like
True.
now, like we just set up, we just set up the WhatsApp group, and we're like, you can even disseminate assignments. Like you can pass across assignments, right, via WhatsApp groups, or any of those things, right? I remember when I was in school, I can't remember the name of the tool, but then there was, something where, and this was, it was quite a while ago, right? But then I think all those things have existed for like years, right? At a minimum, they've existed for like 10 to 15 years. There are a couple of tools that have existed for that long, right? And she used to drop the assignments. One lecturer in particular used to drop our assignments on, I can't remember the name of the website, but there was a tool, a web app. She drops it there, you download it there, you upload your assignment there. It's timing everything. So like if you miss the cutoff time, you're on your own. Sorry, you're on your path to your F. And so it was so super important, super critical in like making her own life easier and
Yeah.
making my own life easier and making everyone's life. I think it's like very important, like super important, and it's very useful, especially in today's today's landscape. Like it's super important.
Oh, great. So I have two more questions for you. Don't worry, don't be in a hurry. Now, you are you are a tech person. From what I've seen so far, um you love startups. You want to make impact.
Yeah,
And I remember when we met in Accra. So the idea you're running at Trove was not the idea you were pushing then. So
definitely.
yeah, so you had drop bodies and by
Yeah,
logistics and all that, and you're doing quite well, really. Because I used to go to your site and check you out and all that, but now you switched, and one, you're not afraid to switch. You're not afraid to say, for example, oh, if I switch now, I'm going to start all over. You were not afraid, so you switched. You got new idea,
yeah,
formed new team, and now you are receiving massive investment. All right. And in fact, the last investor I saw on Twitter, they said they were extremely
yeah,
happy. For an investor to say they're extremely happy, that means that means they know they're going to benefit from your idea. So now for someone who probably is
yeah,
struggling, someone wants to start something, because I've seen a lot of people who are working, even working with
yeah,
oil companies, they're any big, but they know that they just want to start something and move away from perhaps being an employee to be an employer. One, also they see that being an employer will give them opportunity to make more impact. So they're looking for how to make that transition. So can you just say
yeah.
something to such kind of people? As in, how do you get idea? One, how do you know your idea is valid? So I'm mopping up so many questions in one now. So
Okay,
your
okay.
so your advice would be around, how do you get idea? How do you know your idea will work? One, two, how do you form a team? Because I know how hard
Yeah,
it was for me to look for a technical co-founder then. So how do you form a team, especially if it's a tech startup and you're not a technical founder? So you need a developer,
yeah.
for example, or you need a CMO, somebody who is good at marketing. How do you get to form your team? Then how do you get funding? And how do you keep business running to make sure that your investors are happy with your business?
Yeah, okay. So let me take it one step after the other. So the first thing is, how do you get ideas? Ideas are, as far as I'm concerned, they're inspirational, right? Ideas are a dime a dozen, right? So the truth is, at the end of the day, execution is the most important thing. Um, I used to tell some of my guys that I can, like literally, I can give you ideas, right? But the thing is, would you execute those ideas? Execution is key. Is king. That's what I've learned like over the years. It's not really a beautiful idea. Like the truth is, I think 70, people have different metrics, but I would say 70% to 80% of good ideas die at that idea phase. Only very few people do it, and then only very few people do it well. right? But then if you were to think of something that you're supposed to do, think of things that are actually not necessarily your problem. It doesn't have to be a problem that you're facing, but it has to be a problem that you see other people around you facing. So it can be something that you're facing, but other people are facing as well. It can be something that you're not currently facing, but then you can actually key into the story to some extent. Maybe it's your friends that are facing the same thing, a family member facing the same thing. So the story behind the company or the startup doesn't always have to start from you, right? It can, but then I think to validate the idea, there has to be like a sufficient amount of people that are, that can key into the story, so to say. And then outside of keying into the story, there have to be people that are willing to pay for the service, right? So unless it's, there are different business models. There is the NGO type model. And if it's the NGO type model, is this something that has like that much of a societal type impact to the point that, a lot of all these people that fund those type of projects are willing to, put money into that. A lot of them will tell you the kind of projects they fund. I wouldn't really say people should focus on things just because, you're looking for capital or you're looking, like, do something you're passionate about. And at the end of the day, like, money is just a benefit. It's just an extra benefit, to that, right? So ideas are everywhere. I think before you pick what you want to do, it's a very tough climb, especially, building, companies and startups. And it has to be something that you're passionate about, and it has to be a problem that exists with a lot of people, right? And then to speak to the next question, which was, how do you build a team? I think to some extent, some people say disagree, but like you attract who you are, right? And and then you just, so second thing is like you really have to be passionate to the first thing, right? If you're super passionate about the idea or the company you're building, that that passion in itself, right, is intoxicating, right? And then people are attracted by that passion, by that vision, by the way you speak about the company, and people want to work in places that feel like are impactful to some extent, right? People don't want to work at, so it's not all about I'm working at a place and they're paying me like a decent amount. Like it's super important, but like people want to work at places where they feel like they're getting, or they're making an impact. Or like you see a lot of people that say they want to live like, super structured environments just because they feel like they're doing the same thing every day. They don't have a voice in the company. They don't feel like there's change, environmentally or like, within that industry. And, I feel like the thing should start from you, right? You have to be able to tell a compelling story. And once the story is super compelling, I think, there are lots of people that will jump on that bandwagon. It starts with you, actually. You just have to be able to tell a compelling story and get people to key into that same vision that you believe in.
Okay,
Is
awesome.
there, I think I missed a question. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, so well, I think what you have said then also speaks to the other areas talking about, like in terms of getting funding and all that, attracting funders,
Okay.
investors.
Yeah. Okay, so for funding, if I've learned anything, it's it's more of a it's more of a process, so to say, right? And what I mean by a process is um, there is a method to the madness. That's the first thing. A lot of people will tell you that, build something that is amazing, build something that is super interesting, and the money will come, right? I think is super important to, like, back to social capital. I think you have to learn to build your base of like influential people within the space that you're trying to play in. Just pally up with them. It doesn't really have to be, I'm building something today. It could be you're building something tomorrow, you're building something next year. I don't believe in the concept of burning bridges, right? I have lots of friends that I've had for 4 or 5 years. And the truth is, like, a lot of them are now doing amazing things in the space. And the truth is, if I'm doing something, one of these soft, warm introductions from like somebody that, is close to a partner, or like a partner in a VC fund or like an angel investment type outfit has invested in before, it goes a long way. these people get decks, like they get thousands of decks every day. So the thing is, try to back to social capital, try to create a network of, people that, are actually killing it. It's not pride, right? It's just a thing of, I have people that I call up and I just whine them and I parley with them and I just say, oh, yo, how you doing? Yeah, totally killing it, and, is there anything I can do to help, right? Even if I feel like, oh, some of these people have 100 employees, so they probably don't need anything. But I'm just reaching out and I'm just trying to stay, in their good books. Because you never really know, right? So for me, that's the most important thing, critical thing for me. Like your network, if it's an internship, if it's, just, making friends within that system, if it's, just reaching out to somebody, I think it's critical and it's go a long way in actually helping you, attract funding. It's good to apply, for funding and all those things, but applications and all those things are a dime a dozen. People will take you more seriously if a VC or if somebody that a VC has invested in does a warm intro to you. They are more likely to read that email, and they're more likely to read that email with empathy in their hearts and with an open mind, right? And then secondary to that, I would say bootstrap. Try to bootstrap as much as you can. Valuations are like a thing. A lot of investors, especially the Nigerian ones, will tell you, I want to give you *1 and I need the whole company, right? And so I think it's super. I've seen that story play of this last one of the investors. They know how they literally came with the evaluation, and I said no, right? Like we said no, and the reason why we could do that is because like we had built something that had transactions, had revenue, had users, and there was some form of validation, right? And product market fit. And when you achieve that, there's greater leverage. And outside of the fact that there's greater leverage, it's just a stronger conversation. So try to bootstrap as long as you can. So when you're having those conversations, you're not coming from the weaker side, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Leverage is super important, especially in all these negotiations and funding. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. But social capital, I've said that 1 million or 1 billion times doing this thing is super important. Whether it's ₦1 you're trying to raise or 10,000 naira you're trying to raise, it's still human beings that will give you. And they give you early stage, a lot of people bet on you, not on your idea or on the company. Because the truth is like your company is not super validated yet. It can still fail. That's the honest truth. Companies at Series A still fail, right? So from seed, angel, pre-seed, seed to Series A, they're still risky bets. And so I want to be sure that okay, this person is the right person to take the money, right? And that's just is betting on you. So you have to build yourself as a human being, right? And telling compelling stories and just being a nice, sociable person. I think it goes a long way.
And I like that part. Just be a nice, sociable person.
Yeah, like it goes a long way. It goes a long way. Like if you're like funny character and like you're super smart, people it's not about I went to Harvard, I went to this, I went to that. You're a pleasant person. You sound like a pleasant person. I think, and then you seem like somebody that's passionate about the thing. More often than not, you see people willing to join you when you're joining.
Okay, cool, Tommy. Okay, so this is my last question, and as I usually do, so a general advice. Now, especially for young people. So the young people are in school or not yet in school, they're planning to go to university, or some are already in university. So what advice will you have for them that they want to become? Some people look at Facebook, say, "Oh, I want to become Mark Zuckerberg." I hear that a lot.
I want to become Mark Zuckerberg. I'm for you to go to Mark Zuckerberg. We all want to be Mark Zuckerberg. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So what advice will you have for a young person who is still in university and is planning on run his own tech startup, but he's still very young? So what kind of just like a map for such a person, journey map?
Yeah. So first thing, stay in school, finish school. Like entrepreneurship is not running away. But the second thing is like, I think the role of mentorship cannot be overemphasized and cannot be downplayed. Your first, if you know that, okay, this is something you want to be doing in 4 or 5 years, right? Reach out to a company that is within the space that is doing interesting stuff. It doesn't have to be your ideal company, right? Reach out to an amazing startup that you know is killing it, or a startup that just begun or something, or like if you like a structured one or a more structured company. But like the first thing is try to understand that industry, try to understand, the people that play within the industry, how they think, the politics of that industry, and just try to make acquaintances and friends along that journey. So just enjoy it, right? The biggest thing for me is just mentorship. Try to, just intern and work pro bono. You don't have to collect money. Work pro bono, like during your holidays and all that stuff. It's like companies within the space. Books are a big part. You can read. You can watch videos. If you're not like a reading type person, you can listen to audiobooks and stories about how people navigated, several industries, how they scale through several hurdles, and all of that type of stuff. I think it's super critical. Chase knowledge, right? And knowledge in the form of like you being self-taught, and knowledge in the form of mentorship. So you're learning from others, and at the same time, you're building up yourself as a human being that is willing to go or wants to go or foray into an industry. So for me, those are the two biggest things. I wouldn't say go and start the business straight up or something, because regardless, I don't think you have the capital at that point in time. These things are very difficult. So I know how glamorous all of these things sound, right? You, my friend, you're like, you know this thing. No, every season of the thumbnail, but like we know how long this thing took. Like the program we met at was probably 5 years ago, right? And this is 5 years after, and like I feel like, okay, this is when I'm getting my props. This is when like people are like saying, oh, come and talk on radio, come and talk. I've been on like a couple of radio stations that now mentor people. We've gotten funding. I've raised funding from like 4 or 5 investors. So I've done this repeatedly, like over time. I've done TV programs, but like it didn't just come overnight, right? So it was consistency, right? So you have to be super consistent, right? It might be after 3 things, you might do 3 things that fail. You might do 4 that fail. You might do 5 that fail, right? But it's just never really a smooth journey, and you just have to be super consistent. Try to get mentorship and build yourself as a person, right? So learn from others and build yourself.
Wow, that's a great fatherly advice. You sound like a grandpa.
I don't like a grandpa. That's what happens. That's what happens when you're in a space for like a long time.
Wow.
You get like a lot of it's a learning curve. Life is interesting. You learn so much, but you have to be open to learning. That's also super important.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much, Tommy. As in, it has been inspiring
Thank you.
just listening to you.